It was a cold winter evening in Mortham City, a place known for its ancient streets and dark woods that seemed to stretch endlessly beyond the town's borders. I had just finished my shift at the local diner and was walking home when the first strange thing happened. The wind was biting, colder than it should have been for late November. The sky above was a solid, oppressive gray, and the city felt too quiet. No cars passed, and the usual hum of the city had vanished. But something was wrong. The silence was too thick, like it was pressing against me. As I walked past the last street lamp on Elm Street, I noticed something moving in the shadows just beyond the tree line. At first I thought it was an animal, but then it emerged. Tall, impossibly tall. With a gaunt frame covered in matted fur, it had hollow, dark eyes that seemed to pierce through the night, and its mouth was filled with jagged, uneven teeth, far too many for a creature that should have had any semblance of normalcy. A Wendigo. I had heard the legends my whole life growing up in Mortham. The old folks talked about it in whispers, how the creature, once a human who succumbed to cannibalism, would return from the woods to stalk the living. They said it could smell human flesh from miles away, its hunger never satisfied, always searching for more, but I never thought it was real, not until I saw it myself. I froze, every instinct in my body screaming to run, but my feet wouldn't move. The Wendigo's eyes locked onto mine, and for a long moment it just stood there. Then it tilted its head, the creaking of its neck too loud in the stillness. It stepped forward, its limbs moving unnaturally, jerking and twitching like it wasn't sure how to use them. I tried to call out, but no sound escaped my mouth. My breath came in sharp, shallow gasps. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest like it was trying to break free. Then it spoke. Its voice was not a voice at all, just a cold, bone-chilling whisper that scraped against my mind, burrowing deep into my thoughts. "Hungry," it muttered, its voice a mix of desperation and hunger, as though it had been starving for centuries. So hungry. Suddenly I snapped out of my paralysis. I had to run. My legs finally responded, and I bolted down the street, my heart racing. Behind me I could hear it moving, fast. Too fast, and its breath came in ragged gasps like a predator on the hunt. I turned the corner onto Main Street and skidded to a halt in front of a convenience store. The lights were flickering, casting eerie shadows on the empty street. I ran inside, my hands trembling as I grabbed the door handle and slammed it shut behind me. I leaned against the door, trying to catch my breath. The bell above the door jingled, and I whipped around to see the store clerk staring at me with wide eyes. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice shaky. I couldn't form words. I pointed towards the door, my throat tight with fear. The clerk slowly walked over, peering through the glass. His face went pale. It's not possible," he whispered. I didn't know what he meant, but I didn't have time to ask. The air inside the store grew colder and I could feel something shifting outside, something watching. The Wendigo was still out there waiting, its hunger far from sated. I had to leave, but as I turned to open the door again, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The shadow of the creature, its elongated form, was visible through the glass. But it wasn't standing anymore. It was on all fours. It was crawling toward the store, its claws scraping against the pavement, and its eyes never left mine. It was getting closer. I slammed the door shut, my entire body shaking uncontrollably. The clerk backed away, eyes wide with fear, but then something else caught my attention. Behind him, a figure was moving, another person, but not quite right. The store's lights flickered again, and the person's face distorted. Their eyes turning into black pits, their skin pulled tight against their bones. I gasped, my mind racing. I didn't have time to think. The Wendigo was here, but it wasn't alone. It was the kind of night in Asheville, North Carolina, where everything feels too still, too quiet. The type of cold that settles into your bones even if you're just walking from your car to your apartment. I had just moved into town a few weeks ago and I didn't know much about its history other than the tourist spots and the charming old town square, but that night I learned something that would change my life forever. I had worked late at a local bar, finishing up the last round of cleaning when I noticed the sound of heavy footsteps outside, crunching through the snow that had begun to fall heavily. I glanced through the window, expecting to see someone stumbling home after a long night, but there was nothing. A chill ran through me. I went to lock the back door when I heard it. Something scratching at the wood. Soft at first, like fingernails, then louder, sharper. It was as if something or someone was trying to get in. My heart raced as I backed away, my hand gripping the broom I had been using to sweep the floor. I froze when I saw it through the cracked door. A pale figure standing at the edge of the alley, half hidden in the shadows. Its eyes gleamed with a hunger I couldn't understand, too dark to be human. But what caught my attention the most were the limbs, twisted, unnaturally long, stretching almost impossibly. I felt my breath catch in my throat. The legends about Asheville, about the forests beyond the city, rushed to the forefront of my mind. They whispered of a creature, a Wendigo, stalking the edges of the woods, feeding on the lost and the foolish. A creature born from an ancient curse, fueled by an endless hunger for human flesh. I told myself it couldn't be real, that it was just the cold playing tricks on my eyes. But the scratching continued, louder now, more insistent. I made my way to the front of the bar, eyes scanning the shadows outside. That's when I saw it, closer than before. It had moved without a sound, its skin stretched tight against its bones, its breath coming in ragged gasps that chilled the air around it. Its mouth was a grotesque, gaping hole filled with rows of sharp, broken teeth. too many for any living thing. I backed away, stumbling into the old wooden bar. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone. The call to 911 barely made it through my lips before the line went dead, static filling my ears. My hand shook harder now as I dropped the phone, barely noticing the figure getting closer, its grotesque form filling the narrow alley outset. That's when I saw the reflection. In the glass behind the bar, I saw it moving. But not just one figure, there were two. The second figure, smaller, almost human, was hidden in the dark, its eyes locked onto me with an intensity that froze my blood. I realized then that it was the Wendigo's voice I had heard earlier. Not from the creature itself, but from the one hiding. The one who had once been human, cursed, to aid the monster in its hunger. I felt its eyes digging into me, its silent, pleading hunger echoing in the depths of my mind. I tried to run, to escape through the back door, but as I turned, the cold grew unbearable. A deep frost spread across the wooden floor, freezing my footsteps in place. The door was no longer an escape, it had become a barrier, an impossibly thick wall of ice that held me in place, trapped. Then the scratching noise came again, but this time it was inside the bar. The thing outside had found its way in. I heard its feet dragging across the floor, the sharp claws leaving marks as it moved closer. My body felt like it was freezing from the inside out. I turned and ran toward the back, but there was nowhere to go. The bar, once a safe haven, now felt like a coffin. I heard the first low growl, followed by the crack of bones shifting and the sickening noise of it getting closer. I don't know how long I ran. The dark shape of the Wendigo loomed, its mouth dripping with saliva as it stalked closer. It wanted me, its eyes never leaving me as I stumbled down a narrow hallway, desperate for any way out. The last thing I remember is the terrible cold wrapping around me, and then nothing. I woke up in the snow, miles from the bar. My legs were bruised and bleeding. My clothes were torn. I knew something had happened, something worse than I could understand. I stumbled to my feet and made my way toward town, but the fear that gripped me wouldn't let go. As I passed through the town square, I saw a figure standing in the shadows. A woman, pale and emaciated, with hollow eyes staring at me. She whispered, "The hunger never ends." And that's when I realized the Wendigo had found me.